Hello, Lewy Warriors. Joe here for Canadian Lewy Body Dementia Information, and welcome to a new episode of CLBDI Talks. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with the founder and executive director of the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center, Norma Loeb. Well, Norma, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you here today. Let's get straight to our questions. Some of our listeners, being Canadian or potentially new to the world of LBD and looking to learn more about what resources are available and what groups are out there, they may not know who you are. Could you please give a little bit more background on yourself, what you do, and your platform and project?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me on here. What I do. So, actually, at this moment, I am the founder and executive director of the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center. I know that's a long title, but we wanted to get everything in to cover all that we do. I started taking care of my mom who had Lewy body, and that was quite some time ago now. And then I started leading support groups in the New York area in person and then via Zoom. And I was also on the board of the only other Lewy body organization in the US, LBDA in Atlanta, but I saw there was a lot more work to be done on a one-on-one and personal basis. So when my mom passed 9 years ago, I founded the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center because I wanted to share all the information I had.
And to expand on that, maybe you could give our listeners some examples of some recent initiatives or events or things that you have done with the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center that might be notable or might give some kind of further information for what you guys are actually doing for the people who need it.
I'd be happy to. Most importantly, at this point, we have the only live helpline for Lewy body dementia in the United States, available to anyone who is not in the United States as well. I know it's a little more difficult for people, but we do have that, and we have it 365 days a year. And what makes me really happy about that is every single person who does enter the helpline or helps with support groups is a volunteer. They were former caregivers of a family member who had Lewy body, so they understand it completely and can help in the best way. Besides the helpline, we have now 7 support groups and soon to be 8 that are national via Zoom. So anyone throughout the US, in Canada, even internationally now can join us at any time. It's really crucial that people know that they're not alone. In addition to that, our website has hundreds of pages of information and resources for people. So it's not just information on Lewy body, the disease itself, but on caregiving, on alternative therapies, on resources, where to find a doctor. And that's not just in the US. And also, we have information on Lewy body in 8 languages. And I don't think anybody has that. I'm really, really proud about that. And as of later this week, it will be 9. We're adding Turkish.
Wow. Couple things you said in there that I absolutely love and things that we've been focused on as well. But first and foremost, I want to say kudos for the helpline. Something that we've come across time and time again is people feeling overwhelmed and not knowing where to turn. Online resources are great, but sometimes you just need to talk to somebody who has experience. So the support groups, which is something we're working on, and the helpline, that's just like, I'm sure, life changing for many people. So that's absolutely incredible, but also having it available to multiple languages, having tips not just for people living with LBD, but caretakers and alternative therapies and resources for those kind of things. I mean, we've always said that, as a caretaker, you have to have that information and those resources available and take care of yourself too, because you can't take care of somebody else if you're burnt out. So I think kudos to you. Amazing stuff.
Thank you so much, and I totally agree with you. If caregivers can get ill themselves, and if they not caregivers themselves have to do every single thing, and I'm just adding this in because in all of this time, I can tell you that a care partner could be doing 75 things in a day and they forget one. And now they're guilty for the rest of the day. It's just part of the nature of someone being a caregiver. And not everybody is one. That's another thing. So the people who are need as much support as they can get.
So the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center has become one of the most visible and largest platforms for people looking for community resources, support, information in the United States. What has that been like for you as the founder? And along this journey, what surprised you? What gave you the most joy? What challenges did you face? And what are you most proud of?
Oh, that's a lot of questions in one sentence there, but I'll try to answer to the best I can. I What am I most proud of, I think, is having the live helpline every single day of the year, because I know that people with Lewy body are not getting a break. Their caregivers are not getting a break. It's really important to me to have that. And for anybody who needs it to be available for them. Also, I answer them personally if anyone who is emailing from around the world needs information, because someone just emailed me yesterday from Japan asking if they could join a support group because they don't have anything in English in there and wanted to join. So we are open and welcoming anybody who needs the help. And that's what's most important to me, across the board. And that all the people who work with me, every single one has had this experience. Of course, similar ones, they're always different, but every single one knows what it's like for a family to go through Lewy body. And in addition to that, yes, so that's what I'm proudest of, bringing me joy. I can say is when I speak to people individually over the years and recently again this week, somebody will be so surprised and so thankful that, oh, you changed my whole day. I feel completely different because you understand exactly what I'm going through. And just giving information or just listening and understanding what they're going through is so important to me, because that's what I wanted to give. When I founded the organization, it was because I found all the information on my own, and I'm a big sharer of information in general. I didn't want anyone to have to go through the beginning to find out every single thing, which is why we have everything on the website. Anything that you can think of is on there so that you can go to one space. I also want to say your Canadian LBD info site is looking great also. Kudos to you and Carol. And so I think the biggest frustration at this point is still that so many people are misdiagnosed. Um, that's what I would say.
I totally agree, and I wanted to say, the joy that you experience from connecting with people is and being able to support them or connect with them emotionally through lived experience and understanding. Being a caretaker can be so isolating, and so when you find that kind of support and community and connection, I like how you said it, changed their whole day. It really is a unique joy, and part of the reason why we do what we're doing, it's actually you echo many of the sentiments of Carol, our founder, that, the information, she had to search it out on her own. Um, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, the information wasn't as readily available as it is now. Um, and it could always be better. But with people like you and us and the other groups that are actively trying to shine a light and light a beacon for people who are searching for this information, that wasn't there when Carol was going through her Lewy journey with Bob, and it was a lot harder to find the information. And are there any other challenges or things that surprised you along your journey as a founder? Anything you'd like to highlight or speak on?
I think one of the biggest challenges currently, and I mean, always has been and still is having people get the right diagnosis, of having people know the disease. And the only reason for starting my resource center, and our mission is, right, and not our mission, our tagline is bringing awareness, supporting with love. And that was really important to me. And to find out if, generally speaking, if someone goes to a GP, they will have heard of Lewy body, but they don't know anything about it. That's the norm. And so, and it's also one of the other bigger challenges, besides having physicians across the board know of it, because it's extremely important for people to know Lewy body dementia is not rare. Just because you never heard of it does not make it rare. It's the second most common form of progressive dementia after Alzheimer's. And it's just that it's not known. And it's extremely important. I know you have all the information about symptoms on your website. It's extremely important to distinguish between them. But this is the big challenge, because people with Lewy body are extremely sensitive to medications, and the wrong ones can make them much worse. Besides that, other meds can help in other ways. And it's not just about memory loss, as you know, Joe. It's, it's cognition issues across the board, and motor symptoms and hallucinations and fluctuations and REM sleep disorder. So it's a challenge to have people say, "Oh, well, it's like Alzheimer's, it's dementia." No, it's not, because most people have Parkinson's also. The burden on caregivers is huge, because of they're dealing with someone who has not just issues mentally, but physically and emotionally. And then the burden on top of that is that people never heard of it. And so the challenge is, the biggest thing I would want to see changed is, I hear it all the time, that when someone is correctly diagnosed, thankfully, they are they are told, get your affairs in order, or they're just walking out the door with no information. Now, on the doctor's behalf, many of them, they may not know where to refer them. So to me, I want them to know that the Lewy Body Resource Center exists, that the Canadian LBD information site exists, as do the others, because people need that information. And that's always frustrating to me. But I work on this every day, and we're getting more and more people, just as you are, to know.
I think that that's really interesting because the next question I had is, what do you see as the next big challenge for LBD patients and their carers? And I think you outlined one of the things that definitely needs to um, we need to change. We need to get that information out there and let people know, and have that both in the medical field and for carers and for patients, people who with early onset, who are still in the early stages of the disease, they're that they're let them know that this information and these platforms and programs exist out there. But are there any other major challenges you see in the near future for LBD patients and carers? What are the next steps that we, both as a kind of worldwide community and locally, need to take to help better care for and advocate for people with LBD?
I think the main thing that people need to care for them, besides all the research that is being done, I can tell you, I was at the international conference in Amsterdam in January. So much more research is being done. There was 3-day conference, and all of it is mostly medical and scientific, and they're talking about all the research being done. I will add that they also said most of the research is done on white males. So that's another challenge to face going forward. People need to know in diverse communities for women in every single different community, what can be done, what's the difference, and which is why I wanted to talk about the film we have also, which we can talk about later, because to me, it needs to be shown in as many places as possible. It's just too, because challenges every day for Lewy body family, for the person who has it and for the carers is tough enough. And for people not to hear of it or not to want to discuss it in certain communities because it's not what you do is part of it also.
Well, I think now is a great time to talk about the film. Obviously, you are speaking about Facing the Wind, a wonderful documentary that we've shared on our website and social media platforms and have seen. Can you tell the people about the film and talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sure. Thank you. I'd love to do that because I think it is the best way at this point to bring awareness. It follows people who have Lewy body and their caregivers and shows how important the support they get from their community helps them. And it's following them in real time. About a couple of different Lewy body families. One of them gets in her RV with her husband so that they can go see national parks throughout the US and stop and meet people that they've met in their support groups. And it's a story, it's a 1 hour story. And I have shown it in several different places. I was in Atlanta, Georgia last month. I just came back from California and showing it in different diverse communities because it's so Carla is one of the women in the film, and Linda is another one. And Carla talks about how in the Black community, for instance, people don't talk about dementia in general, and they're not going to talk about that they need therapy. So Carla will speak to them that she sees a therapist, and please know this is something we have to talk about. And they both talk about their experiences. So I think it's really important. My focus right now, besides all the daily things that we do with the organization, is to bring the film to as many people as possible. So if someone has a venue and an audience, I'll be really happy to come to Waterloo. And then we can have a Q&A afterwards, possibly in addition to myself with the director or one of the women in the film. Uh, like that's what I think is the most important at this point.
Well, we would definitely enjoy having you come to Waterloo, and that's something we can talk about maybe after we finish this episode. I've got two more questions for you. One of them's a little bit personal, but because our founder Carol had a personal journey with someone that she loves, someone from her family who had LBD, which led to the creation of CLBDI. Um, could you talk a little bit about the journey with your mother, Lillian, and how it influenced, inspired, and drives what you do? And maybe like, what did you learn going through that experience?
Thank you for asking about my mom. Yeah, the first sign was when she was 75 that she had trouble doing her checkbook, which was not, she was great with numbers. And her internist told her it was a normal part of aging. I want everyone to know it is not a normal part of aging. And from that time, I don't want to take up too much time on your podcast because it would take a long time. It took 3.5 years for her to be diagnosed correctly. But this is going back more than 20 years right now. So I certainly hope it's not taking people that long anymore, although it does take quite some time. And she was first misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's, then Parkinson's was added, and many, many things in between, and many instances that were really very difficult. But because of her, and she lived with it for 18 years, which is not the norm. And she was lived with me the last 7 years, and she was bedridden. And I really learned from her every aspect of what people with Lewy body goes through. She had almost every symptom except the blood pressure drop. And I was with her as soon as she showed me her checkbook until literally I was with her her last breath, which I'm always grateful I was there. And I it was really important to me that people understand what someone with this disease goes through and how difficult it is for caregivers, but to know that that they're not alone. It's the most important thing to know that people are not alone. And I grateful to my mom that she taught me empathy. She taught me compassion by having this very difficult disease, which is why I was able to found the organization.
Thank you for that wonderful answer. The experience of caring for someone you love with LBD is challenging and overwhelming, and it changes you. But it can also be a catalyst for growth and drive. And it's a story that I know very well, not personally, but through Carol and her journey with Bob. And I just think it's absolutely amazing what you have done with the resource center, and I know you do it all for your mom, and she would be very proud of you. I think you guys have done an amazing job, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys and for us. And I'm sure we would love to collab more in the future. But before we end our episode today, I wanted to ask you, do you have anything you'd like to say to the people who might be listening who are going through their own LBD journey as patients, as carers, family members? What advice would you like to give those listeners?
Thank you for your very kind words first, Joe. I would like to tell every person going through this, who are living with the disease and who are caring for someone, just please know, first of all, again, I want to say you are not alone. To know that there's support out there, there there are support groups they can join. There are people who understand. It's really important that you don't try to do everything alone. You don't have to. You don't have to. Just know that there are people there. The two important things that I think are crucial for people to understand is the person with Lewy body has to feel safe. And so you'll notice when you're caring for someone with Lewy body, they may not want to let you go. And if you're going out and when will you be back? And because it's hard for them to know the time or what's happening, they need to feel safe. Number one. Number two is they also need to feel in control. So even though you may be doing things to keep them safe, they need to feel in control. And what I mean by that is not to tell someone they have to take a shower. It's 11 o'clock. You didn't take a shower yet, as somebody may say. It's, do you want to take a shower right now? Even though the timing is going to work well for the caregiver, it's not working well for the person with Lewy body. And we have to be in where they are, or it won't work. I'm not saying it's not difficult. I'm not saying it's not frustrating, but you ask the person, do you feel, do you want to take a shower now? No, I don't want to. Okay, why don't we try in an hour? Does an hour sound good to you? So that they have a choice. They're not just being told. None of us like to feel controlled. And to me, those are the two most important things. And also, I'll also add, I have found over the years, myself and through others, that they're extremely sensitive to energy. And what I mean by that is if you are frustrated or angry, they are going to feel that even more than the average person. But if you're patient and kind and and loving, they're going to feel that even more. And please, because we all want that. But please know I am not making light of your situation as a caregiver and the frustrations that you go through. And I want to stress that too. In the support groups, you can talk about when you want to scream and pull your hair because you're having difficulty.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Norma. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I look forward to further collaboration and coordination. And I just wanted to give you the floor to, share anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners. And once again, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Joe, thank you. It's really been a pleasure. And I'm really admiring all the work that you and Carol have done in helping so many people on your own site. I want everyone who's listening to know that if they're unable to call our helpline, but I'll say the numbers anyway, 516-218-2026, and the first number would be one for the US, or 833 LBD line. If you're unable to call those numbers, we are looking into an international number. I don't know how long that will take, but we are looking into that. Please know that the support groups are available for anybody. And to email me, Norma at LBDNY.org. Norma at LBDNY.org. When you do that, I'd be happy. We will send you information on the support groups, and you'll also be signed up to get our newsletter. And if you have any questions and you're having problems, I'll be happy to answer you as well.
Well, thank you for all you guys are doing at the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center. It again was an absolute pleasure. I will link the website and your Facebook page in the description of this video. I urge everybody who is listening to check out the many different support groups and resources they have available. As we always say here, knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can build a strong and robust support system and have resources available for yourself and your loved one. And you should definitely be adding the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center to your online Rolodex of resources, because the stuff that you guys are doing is amazing. I'm so honored that you took the time to chat with us, and I look forward to everything we're going to do in the future.
Joe, so do I. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning social media, because I always forget to do that. So thank you for saying to like our Facebook page and Instagram. We have a lot of information on that. And I definitely look forward to seeing you in Ontario, maybe.
I
Thank
look
you
forward
again.
to it as well. Thank you. Take care.
You too.